Anderson Cooper only eats Soylent. Is that a good idea? This is from Refinery 29 on September 13th, 2018. Before I read it, no, it is not a good idea. Absolutely not a good idea. See, I worked for Vice when they started working on this documentary about only consuming Soylent and not food. And it doesn't work. The reason for it is, if you're not familiar, Soylent is meant to be a meal replacement, but it is impossible to replace a meal for the average person because humans are, we're evolving constantly, right? That means each individual human has a different requirement for certain minerals, oils, carbohydrates, proteins, etc. No two people are 100% identical. And you can even argue identical twins for the most part, but no, they are still slightly different because over time, their bodies will, different environmental factors will change them in different ways. And while they may require mostly the same things, it's still going to be a little bit different. And that means if somebody wants to formulate a meal, okay, you might need more or less of a certain nutrient, and you're not going to get what you need, and you're going to get too much of what you don't need, and it's bad. Now, let's talk about soy boys. What's a soy boy? Typically, soy boy refers to, male feminists and left-wing men who consume too much soy, and because soy has phytoestrogens, that makes men effeminate. But my understanding is that's actually factually incorrect. And I'll pull up the data on this. I'm not going to do an exhaustive search. We're going to learn about Anderson Cooper and his Soylent diet. But apparently, phytoestrogens are weaker than estrogens, and phytoestrogens block certain receptors where estrogens should go. That means that if you consume soy products, you are getting less potent estrogen, which would have the inverse effect. All right? But let's read about Anderson Cooper and why he's eating a stupid diet. Anderson Cooper is known for being a pretty busy guy. Between anchoring a CNN show 5 nights a week, hosting 60 Minutes, and running his two-man show with Andy Cohen, it seems like he requires a Harry Potter time turner, haha, so funny, just to get through the day. Somewhat related, Cooper is also known for being a picky eater. In a 2015 Vanity Fair interview alongside his friend to late food writer Anthony Bourdain, Cooper said he thinks eating is a waste of time and prefers plain-tasting foods like oatmeal salad and salmon sushi. Since that interview, Cooper has apparently caught on to Soylent, a drink that's engineered to be a meal replacement. In a new interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Cooper said that he exclusively drinks Soylent. He's gonna die. I don't care about food, he said, so I'm trying to replace all food with Soylent because it would be like 3 fewer decisions a day. There's a lot going on here. Pretty sure you will die if you only consume Soylent. My understanding at the time when Vice did the documentary on Soylent was that the company even recommends that you have at least like one meal, a couple meals per week of like various things because Soylent can never replace all of your food. First things first, what even is Soylent? Soylent is a soy-based shake drink. Is it soy-based? I actually don't think it is. I think it's got some soy in it. It's a soy-based drink that's supposed to provide you with the elements of a nutritious diet in a bottle. There are different Soylent flavors like chocolate, strawberry, and coffee, but it's not exactly sought after for its taste. Soylent is, however, packed with macronutrients that provide energy like fat, protein, and carbs. At the time, when I received my free kit of Soylent, it was a bag of powder and a little vial of oil, and you were supposed to mix it. It didn't have any flavor. It was supposed to just be like bland food. It tasted kind of like oats, but also kind of like cardboard. I'm not kidding. It was like, have you ever bit paper? It's like, oh God, I can't even think about it. Since then, I believe Soylent has become more just like a protein shake. And the funny thing about Soylent, they're marketing it kind of like, oh, Soylent Green is people, right? Like the idea is you can replace food, but we've had meal replacements for a long time. What's like the Slim Fast for one is a meal replacement. And then we've got, I can't remember what the other ones are. I actually have a case of them. They're like little protein shakes from Walgreens or something. I guess the idea with Soylent is that it's meant to permanently replace food, but that's not possible. So they say, technically Soylent could be consumed as a meal replacement, although the brand specifically says on its website that it is not intended to replace every meal. Instead, Soylent's website claims that drinks are meant to fill you up in moments when you need a meal, but don't have time or access to food. This is why Soylent is big with Silicon Valley bros who are trying to hack their day to save time, or backpackers who literally do not have food available. And apparently people like Cooper who but want sustenance without having to think about it. It's ridiculous. Grab a Slim Fast. There's also like, Ensure. There you go. I don't have any of those, but that's like another meal replacement for old people. Look, everyone is different and everyone has a different relationship with food. Since we don't know Cooper or anything about his personal history with food besides what it's covered in other news outlets, it's tough to make any assumptions about why he drinks soy sludge instead of eating solid food. But if you are also a very busy person who is constantly struggling to find quick, healthful meals, you might be curious about Soylent. So could Soylent be a smart option for you? This is ridiculous. Why am I reading this at this point? Well, it's important to remember that food is not just fuel. Fuel and nutrition is much about more than that. Macronutrients, micronutrients, etc., etc. Food is something that is meant to be enjoyed not for the vitamins, minerals, or fiber it provides, but for the taste and the pleasure it brings us. I actually disagree with that. At least as far as I go, the food I eat tends to change because I'm just going to be like, man, I'm really craving some pasta or some fish or chicken. And usually you're craving things because your body needs them, right? So it's not about like, in my opinion, it's not about pleasure. Maybe people eat for pleasure, and that's why Americans are so fat. Research has shown that when you eat food that you enjoy, your body absorbs the nutrients better. Could it be that the reason you enjoy it is because your body wants whatever is in it, and it absorbs it better? That's one of the many reasons why so many registered dietitians promote intuitive eating, which is the idea that you should listen to your body's cravings and hunger cues to determine when and what to eat, and stop when you feel satisfied. By focusing on just the macro or micronutrients, we overlook these important health benefits. Also, like, Soylent is kind of gross. I mean, maybe the newer flavor, I haven't had it, but I also am, like, this is kind of fake news. The fact that Anderson Cooper is going to drink soy sludge instead of eating food says to me the dude doesn't actually do, like, research. I'm not even kidding. Like, do I have to sit here and be like, Anderson Cooper, have you tried Googling Soylent? Because if you really don't want to eat solid food, have you thought about Slim Fast? Literally, it's been around for decades. So let's talk about soy boys for a second. I got this thing I pulled up. I just did a quick Google search. I'm not saying this is like, it's Science Daily, and it says soy phytoestrogens may block estrogen effects. Summary. Research in monkeys suggests that the natural plant estrogens found in soy do not increase markers of breast cancer risks in postmenopausal women. Wait. In monkeys, okay? In fact, they may provide a protective effect in some women. The research is reported today in Cancer Research. Even in high doses, we found no evidence that the estrogen-like compounds in soy called isoflavones stimulate cell growth or other markers for cancer risk in breast tissue. Well, this study, I gotta admit, is just, it's a cursor. I just did a quick Google search and pulled something up. But there's a bunch of other studies, so I recommend reading it. A lot of people, I think when it comes to the idea of the soy boy, it's mostly a joke. Most people recognize that soy isn't actually turning dudes into effeminate, weirdos. But I'm pretty sure Paul Joseph Watson has a video where he goes over data showing that it does. My understanding, based on a bunch of stuff that I've read, there's also some like soy bodybuilding groups where they only do soy protein, and these guys are all super ripped and like masculine. My understanding is that, as I mentioned in the beginning, phytoestrogen is weaker than real estrogen that's produced by your own body. And when you consume phytoestrogens, they block the receptors so the more potent estrogen doesn't work. Thus, if you actually consume a lot of soy, you're gonna be less affected by estrogen. But I don't know what the result of that would be. So let's see, in the high estrogen environment, there was a higher breast cell proliferation both when isoflavones weren't in the diet and when they were present in lower doses. However, the addition of high levels of dietary soy isoflavones tended to block estrogen effects in breast tissue. So I can say this. You are less likely to grow breasts if you drink soy products, apparently. There are some stories I read about guys who started consuming soy products and started getting, like estrogen effects. Because the inverse argument to what I'm saying is that, let's say you've got 100 receptors. I don't know what the actual number is. I'm just percentage-wise. And your body produces 50 little, estrogen hormones or whatever. That means even though they're more potent, your body doesn't produce that much. And if you consume a ton of soy, although it's less potent, you're basically hitting every single receptor with a barrage nonstop. In which case, even though phytoestrogens are less effective, if you consume too much, it may actually have an impact. So this is mostly about breast cancer, but let's see how they conclude the soy boy Cooper story. Ultimately, using Soylent from time to time in dire circumstances, like if you are stranded in nature or in some dystopian end-of-the-world scenario, isn't bad or unhealthy. But I would never recommend it over the experience and taste of real food, she says. Who knows? Maybe Cooper truly does enjoy and savor the taste and experience of slurping a soy 3 times a day. But perhaps watching the 1973 sci-fi film Soylent Green might make him think twice before reaching for a bottle. No, I think if Anderson Cooper did a cursory Google search of why you shouldn't drink nothing but a meal replacement, and if he actually ever Google searched meal replacement in the first place, he would know that there's like dozens, if not hundreds of different brands of meal replacement, and Soylent was just a big marketing ploy. They made a product, they called it Soylent, and everyone went, Soylent Green is people, and they started buying it, even though it's no different than literally every other meal replacement you can buy at any point, anywhere. Go to your local grocery store, they've got cases of this stuff. So let's change the name of the story to Anderson Cooper only drinks Slim Fast. Is that a good idea? No, obviously it's not a good idea. You'd expect someone like Anderson Cooper to, in a new interview he said he's trying to replace all food with Soylent because it would be fewer decisions. It's a terrible reason to consume something you heard about on the internet. Come on, do better. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the main channel.